My name is Sameer Dosal, and I am the president of the Canada-Pakistan Business Council. We are delighted to have you all over at a Canada-Pakistan webinar series on economy and finance. I'm delighted that we have some wonderful guests, and we are looking forward to a very interesting conversation on finance and economy. I am going to just take the time to briefly give you an introduction of Canada-Pakistan Business Council and what we have recently achieved. As you all know, with this pandemic situation, as everybody, CPBC is following and upfront about the fact that we have made almost all our events virtual, and we are doing a series of events. Early this year, we signed an MOU using the virtual concept with an organization from Canada and Pakistan, Canada-Pakistan Business Council and Startup Grind. We have actually had the pleasure and honor of hosting Minister Mary Ng, Minister of Export Promotion and International Trade of Canada, to be our honored guest, distinguished guest, along with Mr. Rocco Rossi, President of the Ontario Chamber of Commerce. We had the likes of Professor Dr. Wendy Sukier of Diversity Institute, and of course, MP Salma Zahid, who is also the chair of the Canada-Pakistan Parliamentary Friendship Group. As we have mentioned earlier, we will be continuing these various webinar series. Because we are not going to have our gala this year, a physical gala, we have decided that we will break our programs into small series, and award recipients will be given awards virtually. And this time it will be slightly different, that we will include people and their award program will be exclusive to themselves. So if we have got 5 awards, we will be producing 5 programs, and we will be sharing those with all of you in our social network, on our website, and on various fronts, and will be streamed along with our various partner organizations. So today, the topic of the webinar is on financial and capital markets. I'm delighted that we have the likes of Mr. Ali Sultan, who's Group Head of Treasury and Capital Markets, Bank Al-Falah. We are honored to have Mr. Farrukh Khan, CEO and Managing Director of the Pakistan Stock Exchange. Also with us is a friend, Mr. Salman Alvi. He's a partner of BDO Canada, who's also our sponsor. And we are delighted to have this team, and we will have an interesting conversation. I am actually wanting to mention the fact that as part of this series, the finance and economic series will be moderated and spearheaded by our very own Mr. Nadeem Naqv, who is our Vice President and who also happens to be the past President of the Pakistan Stock Exchange. So I'm delighted to have Mr. Nadeem Naqv on the panel. Similarly, a webinar series on ICT will be presented, and that will be moderated and coordinated by Mr. Zishan Ali of Salesforce. He's actually a recipient of the CPBC Professional Excellence Award recently. So there is so much to talk about, but let's focus on this webinar. We've got some amazing people, and I'm going to ask my dear friend and brother, Mr. Nadeem Naqv, to come on and kindly take on the proceedings of introducing our distinguished guests. Mr. Nadeem Naqv, Vice President, Canada-Pakistan Business Council.
Thank you very much, Sameer Bhai. Hello, audience. It is a great pleasure and honor to be part of this great get-together today. We have some very interesting areas to cover. Briefly, as we start the thing, let me share with you how this program is going to go through. First, I'll introduce the participants to you, the speakers, followed by a brief overview of the latest numbers in the Pakistan economy. And then each one of the speakers is going to cover his own area of interest and his own area of specialization. First of all, let me introduce Mr. Ali Sultan, who is the Group Head, Treasury and Capital Markets, Bank Al-Falah. And he manages the domestic and overseas treasuries, both in the equity and the debt markets for Al-Falah. He's also a member of the management team, the credit committee, and the asset liability committee. He has served as chairman of the board of the Al-Falah GHP Investments, which is the asset management arm of the bank. He has been a director of the Pakistan Mercantile Exchange and has been member of key committees with the Pakistan Stock Exchange, the SECP, which is the Securities Exchange Commission of Pakistan, and the Pakistan Banking Association. Prior to joining Al-Falah, he was director at the State Bank of Pakistan for Financial Market Strategy and Conduct Department. He has worked with BNP Paribas and was regional head of Financial Institutions Group at the Standard Chartered Bank for over 10 years, managing the entire institutional investor sales in the Gulf region and Pakistan. Being a regular participant in World Bank and IMF meetings, he has a deep understanding of international capital markets, and we are honored to have him here. He holds a master's degree in applied mathematics and is also certified by the Pakistan Institute of Corporate Governance. Mr. Ali Sultan is going to be the first speaker, but let me introduce Mr. Farrukh Khan to you. Mr. Farrukh Khan, a great friend and in a way a mentor to me. He's the CEO and managing director of the Pakistan Stock Exchange. With over 30 years of experience internationally, besides being a successful entrepreneur himself, he has advised and participated in transactions with billions of dollars at stake. He's a qualified chartered accountant from the UK and has a major in economics and finance from the University of Manchester. Prior to taking help at the Pakistan Stock Exchange, Farrukh held senior positions in the UK and Pakistan with the Acumen Fund as Senior Director of Business Development. Acumen Fund, as you would know, is a major fund which combats poverty alleviation through supporting entrepreneurs in over 14 emerging markets. He was also the founding partner and CEO of BMA Capital Management in Pakistan, which established itself as the leading investment banking group. BMA was lead manager and advisor for major privatization transactions running into billions of dollars, including Pakistan Telecom, Port Addu Power Plant, Oil and Gas Development Corporation. He has been a member of the Securities and Exchange Commission of Pakistan Policy Board, which is the apex policy board for the SECP, and served as president of Overseas Investors Chamber of Commerce and chairman of Young Presidents Organization, Pakistan chapter. He has worked with Deloitte in the UK and American Express Bank in Pakistan. Currently, he is director of the National Clearing Company of Pakistan and Central Depository Company, PIEA, Acumen Pakistan, among other corporates. Now, finally, let me introduce Salman to you. Salman has over 20 years of experience in the professional business services in the financial sector. He's an accountant by profession. He's an audit partner in Toronto with BDO, which is one of the top accounting firms in Canada. And he specializes in commercial, residential, and real estate development areas, including hotels and hospitality, land development and construction, and has a mastery of REITs. So all potential people looking at Canada for REITs, he's the man to go to. Salman is also certified by the Canadian Institute of Chartered Accountants with tax specialization, and provides income tax advice to owners and high net worth individuals and businesses. His experience includes involvement in corporate and partnership reorganization, tax aspects of sale and purchase of businesses, business succession, estate planning, personal and corporate tax issues. He has professional affiliations with the Markham Board of Trade, Richmond Hill Chamber of Commerce, Indo-Canada Chamber of Commerce, and Canada-Pakistan Business Council. So it's lovely to see a hand of friendship spread all over the place through his participation in these various professional affiliations, and he's very active in the community involvement area also. So that's the speakers. With your permission, Samir Bhai, I'll just give a brief overview of what's happening in Pakistan, because of course the speakers will specialize in their area. Debt side will be covered by Ali Sultan, and the developments in the equity capital market will be covered by Farrukh. So I'll just take 2 minutes to just briefly let the audience know what's happening in terms of the macroeconomic side. Moody's credit rating agency has changed Pakistan's credit country risk from negative to stable. Now, for a country like Pakistan, that means a lot. Globally, it is nothing to write home about. But we went through a very, very tough patch in the last 2 years. And we are now seeing that despite the COVID-19 crisis, we are now reaching the point where at least stabilization is in sight. In its statement, the Moody's credit rating agency, while upgrading Pakistan's country risk, said the change in outlook to stable is driven by Moody's expectation that the balance of payment dynamics will continue to improve and will be supported by policy adjustment and currency flexibility. We have seen both of that in work recently. Among the policy actions in the post-COVID area, SBP, which is the central bank, State Bank of Pakistan, injected a substantial amount of liquidity into the monetary system, equivalent to about 3.8% of GDP. The government of Pakistan provided direct support to lower income groups, agricultural sector, and some other sector to about 2.5% of GDP. Now that makes Pakistan among emerging markets to have given the maximum amount of support, among the higher percentile of support post the COVID-19. And that has certainly allowed the economy escaping from a crash or major recession. Yes, growth slowed down to minus 0.4% real GDP last year. But this year, the World Bank, IMF, and the government of Pakistan itself expect GDP growth rate to be about 2% and then accelerating to 4% in 22. If you look at some of the major metrics, we find that there has been improvement in certain areas, and I will just simply highlight in a minute what these are. The current account has moved from a negative of 661 million in the second quarter of 2019-20 to a positive of 792 million. Now, this is the first time after a very, very long time, actually decades, that you have had a current account surplus in 2 quarters consecutively, and that bodes well going forward, because one of the problems in Pakistan has been imports related to energy, oil. With oil prices low, that has curtailed imports. Secondly, the other major factor has been remittances, which everybody expected that in post-COVID period, remittances, especially from the Middle East, might collapse. They have held on very well, and we are averaging about $2.1 billion per month of inward remittances from expatriate Pakistanis, which is helping the current account tremendously. As a result, our forex reserves have moved from about 15 billion last year, this time, to almost 20 billion right now, which has impacted the rupee exchange rate. Rupee had come down very severely in the middle of the year to 168 per dollar. And for the first time, almost in 2 decades, we have seen actually rupee appreciate, which is quite a surprise to many observers. It is now at about 159 per dollar. And that definitely has a positive impact on the inflationary side also. The state bank's discount rate used to be about 13.7% last year. This time it is 8% now. And that is very helpful for the corporate sector. And we can see that in terms of the corporate margins, which have improved. Oil, as I mentioned earlier, has come down, which is positive for the economy. We can see improvement in the uptake of fuel oil. We have seen cement dispatches increase 48% year on year, which is actually one of the initial signs that the underlying activity in the economy is beginning to move, and the private sector is crowding in terms of the projects that are taking place. Corporate fundamentals are strong. Generally, the gross margins are an important area to indicate how the corporate sector is doing as far as the listed corporate sector is concerned. We are now at 35% gross margin for the KSE 100 companies and an operating margin of 24%, which is back to the normal after the dip that we saw last year. I cannot finish this thing without highlighting risk factors. Like all countries, there are risk factors which observers and investors and general opinion leaders ought to consider. And in the case of Pakistan, there's this political domestic risk, but we have learned to live with it. There's law and order risk. We have seen tremendous reduction in the law and order risk factor, but we still, from time to time, hear news about it. But I think we are on the upside as far as improvement is concerned. Geopolitical risk is there. Pakistan is in a tough neighborhood, and its diplomatic capability are now going to be tested in terms of managing the regional and the global political relationships. So far, they have done a good job. Structural risk reform is one other area that we need to keep in mind, especially in the energy sector and the public sector privatization of enterprises. I think in both areas, the government has finally started to make moves in the right direction. And I think we'll see a positive outcome before the end of the current fiscal year in June 2021. There's one other risk related to Pakistan, which investors ought to be aware of, and that is FATF risk, which is the Financial Anti-Terrorism Task Force, which had put Pakistan onto a gray list, which of course meant that a lot of financial institutions were reluctant to deal with Pakistani financial institutions. This has improved considerably because in the last meeting of the FATF in late October, Pakistan became 80% compliant with all the requirements and demands that had been put up. And it is expected that before the end of the current fiscal year, Pakistan would be 100% compliant and would come off the gray list, which is very positive in terms of international investment coming into the country. So these are some of the areas that, of course, I just wanted to highlight before we begin. And there was one area which is very important in terms of this seminar, and that is more of a housekeeping thing, but it is important in terms because we will be talking about investment possibilities in the country on a framework basis rather than specifics. However, it is important for me to make this disclaimer as Canada-Pakistan Business Council and on behalf of the speakers. So here goes. The views expressed by participants in this discussion are their own and do not represent that of the Canada-Pakistan Business Council or the speakers' respective organizations. This is not a solicitation to buy or sell any security or company discussed. Any information provided is from publicly available sources. Anyone interested in finding about investment opportunities should conduct their own research and due diligence within the guidelines of the respective jurisdictions and through authorized investment professionals only. Potential interested parties should note that past performance is no assurance of future performance of any investment, and its value may become worth more or less than the original amount. So, dear listeners, that was my duty to highlight to you. And with that, I will now request Mr. Ali Sultan to come in and give his perspective on the debt market and developments with certain new products that the State Bank of Pakistan has recently launched.
Okay, Assalamu alaikum. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Mr. Sameer Dosal, Mr. Nadeem Naqv, the members of the Canada-Pakistan Business Council, and the distinguished viewers of today's webinar. I would like to thank the Council, Mr. Dosal and Nadeem Naqv, for giving me an opportunity to be part of the distinguished panel and discussing key economic developments of Pakistan, particularly on my subject of development in debt market and recently launched Roshan digital account. So Canada-Pakistan Business Council is a truly a bridge between the communities of Pakistan and Canada and business communities to promote bilateral trades, social and economic engagements. And this is credit goes to Mr. Sameer Dosal and the other council members. And this is extremely well recognized both in Canada and in Pakistan. So before moving to, I would reiterate, although I'm not reading the whole disclaimer, which I have already put on my presentation on each slide. Nadeem Naqv has already covered the comprehensive disclaimer part that is important. However, I would like to just say that here, this is, though I will be representing Bank Al-Falah, but my views are purely personal and not soliciting and endorsing any financial products discussed today. The viewers are requested to use their own judgment and evaluate the risk associated with it, and they should obtain proper advice from their financial and legal advisors. So this is important to highlight. Just to moving ahead, although Nadeem Naqv has already covered the brief on Pakistan on economy, but I would like to highlight certain factors on particularly the economic recent initiatives and current account aspect, and more on the stability of the currency. Can you please just add the slides so that I can run through these slides? Okay, so slides are coming here. So this is just one slide. I'm just highlighting, already Nadeem has already covered, but it is important to see that how central bank has taken key initiatives that has given a great stability to Pakistan's economy. And when we compared with developed and even emerging market or frontier markets, Pakistan came out well-established, stabilized economy, particularly during the COVID time. So clearly, one thing is important on the policy rate, the way central bank has reduced 625 basis from 13 basis point in policy rate from 13.5% to 7%, that has given a great comfort to the small and medium-sized businesses. And the policy stance has also shifted towards growth and the employment perspective rather than just taking care of inflation aspect. So resulting I can just also highlight that central bank has launched numerous stimulus packages to support the economy, resulting great stability in Pakistan's economy. Another aspect that has already covered by Nadeem Bhai, but it is important to see that after 5 years, we have seen current account surplus by $800 million. This is again a great achievement on the balance of payment front, and credit goes to the diaspora sitting outside, non-resident Pakistanis sending remittances more than 31% compared to the last year. This is again the trend is continuing, and this is a great confidence. And non-resident Pakistanis have always taken whenever the crisis has come, whenever we have seen a challenging times in Pakistan. So NRPs always standing behind Pakistan. Another aspect on foreign exchange that is a keen interest for any foreign investors or non-resident Pakistanis. Again, I would say after such a very long time, our rupee has appreciated more to in recent 6 months, close to 6 to 7%. And when we compare regional currencies, PKR remained one of the best performing currencies. And the central bank has changed the FX regime recently, where the parity of the currency is determined by the market forces, and currency goes both ways. We have seen depreciating our currency in the past years, but this time this has proven the policy reform processes that currency can definitely appreciate, and we have resulting from 168 to dollar bringing down to 158, and the overall sentiments are positive. That's why the currency stability is coming. So I'm not further stressing here. I need to move on to the subject that has given to me, which is on highlighting certain things on the debt capital market side. I'm sure Farrukh will cover at length on the Pakistan Stock Exchange and equities market. So quickly, so debt capital market is a subject which is unfortunately never discussed in the past to foreign investors, to non-resident Pakistanis, to and even in Pakistan also. So when we talk about capital market, it goes always to equities. So my subject remain to highlight on debt capital market. So quickly, just to highlighting on the landscape of the debt capital market, it is absolutely standard to US or any other developed market in terms of the framework of capital market. When we look at the instrument wise, we have short term to long term and Islamic also. We have primary markets, we have secondary market. But here I need to say that the debt capital market is predominantly linked to the government debt. Unfortunately, corporate debt market is not developed as yet. The efforts are taking place from both capital market players and the banking and the issuer side, but it's still a long way to go. Again, so from the issuer perspective, ministry is the issuer, central bank remained the agent to the issue, and they issue short-term 3 months, 6 months, and 1 year tables. We have 3 year, 5 year, 10 year, and longer than this. We have bonds, we have Islamic Sharia compliant sukuk. So we have a well spectrum of the instruments, and we have a proper yield curve, though it's not very liquid, but we have a full spectrum from 3 months to 30 years yield curve. When we look at the diversified investors, mainly dominated by the banks, corporates, insurance companies, asset management. The challenge remains to mobilize individuals and giving access to the debt market. So during the COVID time, this has been proven that most of the players, banks, have established their digital platforms. Bank Al-Falah was one of those who have started early giving electronic trading platforms to individuals. So because that will be the real test when we bring individuals, retails to the market. Again, I would like to highlight here on one aspect that was very much in the discussion, and we have seen that Pakistan's capital market for the foreign portfolio investor perspective opened up in 1991, and foreign investors have experienced our equity market, and they were well satisfied in terms of bringing money through special compulsory account and repatriating with profit, dividend, and principal together. So here we go. That first time, central bank have taken initiatives of liberalizing the debt market through a special compulsory account for the portfolio investors, and we have seen that portfolio investors, as they used to come and they are coming for equity capital market, they have come for our local currency debt instruments. They have invested in treasury bills, bonds, close to $3.5 billion. And when we look at the framework for portfolio investors, I can clearly say that Pakistan's local currency market for portfolio investor is well diverse and liberalized compared to our subcontinent country, India, Bangladesh, and Sri Lanka, where we don't have any limit on the investment, and the hedging is also allowed for investors. So again, this was a good start. We have seen a lot of institutional investors from all over the world have tried and tested, and they have invested and take out the money in Pakistan. Last point here on the landscape is debt market for retail investors. I think this is important. I would like to emphasize here that this will be a changing game when individuals, retailers can have the great access through the trading platform and investment. They are accessing to local currency instruments in T-bills and bonds, and of course corporate papers, and of course mutual fund. So I will move on and I will discuss further these features when we discuss the new initiative from central bank, Roshan digital account. So this is again important to address certain features. Can you please change the slide on Roshan digital account? Yes, here you go. So Russian digital account, I'm sure most of the viewers, particularly non-present Pakistanis and diaspora, must have heard, they have experience on Russian digital account. This is a great initiative from the government of Pakistan. Government of Pakistan have realized that how to bring non-resident Pakistanis and giving access to Pakistan's financial markets and real estate market and other markets, not only just focusing on and relying on their remittances. Remittances will carry on as they send to their loved one for their day-to-day activities. But this was the initiative where first time central bank had asked banks to establish digital account opening platform. I must say that I was also non-resident Pakistani for 12 years, and I can share my experience quickly. When I used to come here, and account opening was a disaster situation, taking so much time, 3 to 4 days, and going to branch and submitting papers, and it was a great hassle. But now through the digital account, where non-resident Pakistanis can open their account through digitally. I will go further down and explain the key features of a Russian digital account and how to basically access that I will run through on next slide. So when we look at the key features, it's simple. So digital onboarding experience is absolutely is very simple. There is no physical visit required. It's just web-based. Go to central bank website, go to any of the 8 banks, they can access. Currencies are now, I would say, limited in a way that non-resident Pakistanis can open conventional accounts in foreign currency account as well as in Pak Rupee account. And they can access to both conventional depository structures, and they can use the account more for their alternate channels, accessing to global internet banking, mobile banking, app, debit card, making bills, bill payment, school fees, etc. So this is important, a framework for non-resident Pakistanis, not just to go accessing to financial market, but more importantly to highlighting, transferring the funds for and making payments while sitting outside. So this is the key feature. Currencies are more USD, Sterling, Euro, UAE Dirham, Saudi Riyal, and I have requested central bank and our bank to open the CAD account. So banks are working, our bank is also working for making correspondent arrangements with Canadian banking setup to offer the Canadian account, and this will be coming very soon. So I will not read down all the features. I will just highlight in next slide to how to basically access this. So non-resident Pakistanis can simply type Russian digital account on Google or go to State Bank of Pakistan website, which is mentioned here on this slide, and they can access one of the 8 authorized banks who are authorized to open the Russian digital account. Bank Al-Falah is one of those, and our website is here. So anyone can fill the form by opening accessing the web account, and then it is important to mark down the foreign currency account or the rupee denominated account. Once you have done, then you need to upload your documents. The key documents are here. I will present the whole list in next slide, but I would read here that if you have NICOP, POC, Pakistan, passport, proof of non-residence, or proof of profession and source of income of funds. These are the key things where you need to upload your documents. And then digitally, you need to take the picture. It is again important, and it's very simple. Once you do these things, you will upload these things. The bank will send you confirmation within 48 hours, and then acknowledging, establishing the account. Then after that, you can remit or transfer the fund for any reference So it be for utilization of utility, making payments, or any sort, or accessing to financial markets or depository markets. So I will move on to another slide where this is the set of documents for all categories. So it be for employee, if you are an employee, working class, or you are running a business, or you are housewife, or you are doing any other business, medium to small. So you need to just go through and check the documents pertaining to your category, and you just upload on that. This is a list here. So this is just for your reference purpose. Moving on to the key features of Naya Pakistan certificate. This is important. Once you have the Roshan digital account, now you need to see what central bank and government is offering for non-resident Pakistanis. Again, this is simply depository certificates of different maturities: 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, 3 year, 5 year, both in US dollar as well as in Pak rupees. And of course, central bank scheme is offering very attractive rates for non-resident Pakistanis, that is 5.5, 6, 6.5, and so on, respective maturities. And in PKR, you have 9.5, 10, 10.5%, and so on, annualized returns based on your tenors. So the security custody will be held by any of the 8 banks. Here in this case, Bank Al-Falah will keep the custody at a free of cost. This is one offer from Bank Al-Falah. Second is tax from the government side is very simple. 10% is withholding tax, and there is no concept of filing to any authority in Pakistan. Again, these are the key features here, and I will be available to highlight more and more features if anyone's interested. So I can move on to another slide that will highlighting quick and last slide: access to Pakistan's capital market. Farrukh will definitely run through in detail, but just I've highlighted how to access the stock market. Once you have the consent from the bank to share the information to any one of the stock broking firms here, then stock broking firm will open your account for your accessing to stock market, and then they will do the due diligence. Within 1 or 2 days, they will open the account for you. And going forward, government is planning to give access to real estate, although they have done certain DHA products for non-resident Pakistanis. I'm not mentioning here the projects. You can access to our website or any other bank website or central bank. You will find more details. And central bank is also planning to give access to non-resident Pakistan through digital account to mutual fund industries. Asset management industry is well developed, professional driven, variety of funds you can see, from money market to equity fund to asset allocation fund to Islamic fund. You will have a full spectrum of that. So I would stop here, and I would be happy to answer any question from the panelists or the viewers, and my contact details will be there for getting more information. So over to you, Nadeem bhai.
Thank you very much, Ali. Extremely enlightening. And I think this is the first time we've had a true professional coming out and giving us the steps that are necessary for anyone interested in participating in Pakistan's financial markets. So I'm very grateful, and thank you again. I would now request Mr. Farrukh Khan, the Managing Director and CEO of Pakistan Stock Exchange, to kindly come on and give his presentations.
Thank you, Nadeem.
and it is really a pleasure to be participating in this extremely informative webinar. And I'd like to thank the Canada-Pakistan Business Council, Mr. Dosal and yourself for organizing it. And following on from the really insightful presentation just made by Ali, I will focus more on the regulatory and the ecosystem that is developed in the Pakistan capital markets over the last couple of decades. Many of your viewers may not be so familiar with how much progress our capital markets have made and how extremely well regulated and robust the whole regulatory and trading environment is. Could I request if my presentation could be put on screen, please? Thank you. So thank you again for inviting PSX to participate in this discussion. Like other economies, Pakistan is also going through challenging times. Mashallah, Pakistan has come out strongly and in much better shape than most other, in fact, many other regional economies. And this is due to the timely and proactive and aggressive monetary, fiscal, and social steps taken by the government and the central bank. And many of these were highlighted by Ali in his presentation. PSX, as well, with the full support of our regulator, the SECP, has also taken a number of steps to ensure that the stock market has continued to trade smoothly. Unlike some of the other regional markets like Sri Lanka and Bangladesh, PSX, mashallah, never stopped trading even for a minute, despite a very challenging operating environment over the last 6-7 months. And the result of all these actions is that today PSX is among the top performing markets in the world. And I would add that this is not the first time that PSX has had this honor. In fact, PSX delivered some of the best returns in the world to long-term investors over the last few decades. Recently, it's also interesting to note that the Pakistan rupee has also been among the best performing currencies in Asia. So overseas investors have recently benefited from both the strong performance of PSX as well as the PKR. On this slide, you'll see the role and importance of capital markets is not always appreciated. They play a significant role in tackling many of the structural imbalances that have impacted Pakistan's economy over the years. And in fact, I would say that these can only be properly addressed by first developing the capital markets. It is the most documented sector of the economy, and over the decade has provided excellent returns to investors while helping companies raise significant capital. So, for example, in the last 5 years, companies have raised in excess of 760 billion rupees from both debt and equity instruments on the PSX. Next slide. The main objective, as you would know, and just for completeness, of a stock exchange is to provide a fair and transparent and a robust trading platform which allows companies to raise capital efficiently and for all investors to make a good return. And one reason for the recent good performance of PSX is that we kept the exchange functioning despite extreme challenges, which has reinforced the confidence of both companies as well as investors in the robustness of PSX. Next slide. This, for those who may not be so familiar, gives some overall statistics, about PSX. PSX is, in fact, one of the oldest exchanges in Asia and has a well-developed ecosystem. We have come a long way, but we do need to go further and make the capital markets deeper and larger. For our part, PSX is committed to providing a robust and transparent trading platform to help businesses raise capital and for all investors to make a good return. And one of the areas that we are focusing on to achieve this is implementing, with the support of our Chinese partners, a state-of-the-art trading and surveillance system at a total cost over $5 million. And phase 1 of this surveillance system will inshallah be implemented by early 2021, and the trading system and the surveillance system will be fully in place by mid next year. So this will ensure that PSX is able to provide a robust and transparent trading platform well into the 21st century absolutely up to international standards. Next slide, please. As you can see, almost all the major sectors of the economy are represented on the PSX, and the good performance that we are seeing, particularly in the large-scale manufacturing sector, investors can take exposure to almost all the major sectors. The two sectors that are not there right now on PSX are real estate and agriculture, and we are working on REITs and other instruments. So hopefully in the coming months and years, these sectors will also be fully represented on PSX. Next slide, please. As I was mentioning, PSX is one of the oldest exchanges in Asia and is the frontline regulator of the market. It has a long and distinguished history and has been truly instrumental in building up the ecosystem of capital markets in Pakistan, from establishing an independent national clearing company to the central depository company. And we work closely with the other capital market intermediaries, as Ali was mentioning, because capital markets can only work properly, the whole ecosystem is developed. So the mutual fund industry, which is growing, extremely well in Pakistan, insurance companies, pension funds, we work closely with all of them to make sure that the capital markets continue to develop. And we have a relationship of trust and respect with the apex regulator, which is extremely important and good for the capital markets. Next slide. The stock market has opened a lot. The market has changed a lot since it's opened to international investors back in 1991. So the open outcry system, Nadeem, that you may remember on the trading floor, and physical delivery of share certificates, all that is gone. But in the recent years, 2-3 very major changes have taken place. So the exchange, like all the other exchanges in the US, I'm sure in Canada as well, London, UK, India, were all, when they started, owned by brokers. These are all of these have now been corporatized and demutualized, which means that the trading and ownership structures have been rights have been separated, so that there is no conflict of interest. And PSX has done the same thing. So PSX is now itself a listed company. There used to be 3 exchanges in Pakistan, in Lahore, Islamabad, and Karachi. They were merged to make them into Pakistan Stock Exchange to give it scale. And then there was a strategic sale process that was managed, and a number of exchanges from around the world bid for the strategic stake. And I'm very happy 3 of the largest exchanges from China, indeed the world, have taken a 40% stake in PSX. Now, as I said, the trading and ownership is completely segregated. Next slide, please. As you can see, as I was mentioning, around 40% of the shareholding is held by the Chinese consortium. Another 15% approximately is held by other foreign fund managers and investors, and the balance is widely distributed amongst domestic shareholders. Next, please. In the last sort of 6-8 months, we've continued to make significant progress despite a very challenging operating environment. So we have done record-breaking debt issues. There was a 200 billion rupee Pakistan Energy Sukuk issue that we listed for the first time, done on a book-building basis. There have been successful IPOs that have taken place in the last few months. And the most recent, as Ali was mentioning, was the Roshan digital accounts, where we were extremely happy that the central bank worked with us and the banks to make sure that the investors were able to come through the RD accounts and be able to invest in the stock market as well. Next slide, please. I will not go through these in detail, but these are just some of the many steps that we took in the last few months to make sure that the trading continued uninterrupted and fully under the COVID lockdown situation that we have been going through. Next slide. This is another important initiative that we have just recently taken, the growth enterprise market. This is focused on smaller SMEs as well as tech companies. And we hope that this will become an important source of capital for them. As you know, SMEs are the backbone of any economy. Next slide. This is what I was referring to earlier, and this is a very important development. We are working with the Shenzhen Stock Exchange, which I think now is probably the second largest stock exchange or market globally, and they have a state-of-the-art trading and surveillance system, and we are implementing that on the PSX, which will be in place by early next year. So that will give a lot of confidence to investors. Next slide, please. And here you will see what we were referring to, that PSX over the years has provided, world-beating returns to investors. Next slide. But we continue to remain undervalued. We still have, despite such a performance, one of the lowest PEs. And next slide, one of the highest dividend yields in the region. And part of that is that we don't get enough credit or recognition for the performance that we have delivered for investors over the years and decades. And these were all dollar returns, so they were comparable across markets. And this is indeed a challenge for Pakistan. We need to improve our brand Pakistan, and we need your help to do this. And webinars like these and the work that the Canada-Pakistan Business Council is doing are extremely important to help build the Pakistan brand and for investors to be able to truly understand what is the underlying risk return profile of investing in Pakistan. Next slide. To close, I would like to share with you the launch of ETFs in Pakistan. ETFs are probably the single largest asset category in the world, worth over $7 trillion. We now have 4 ETFs on PSX, with many more on way. I believe Al-Falah's asset management company is also working on a very interesting ETF structure. And these are ideal instruments for investors, and particularly for smaller investors and for the diaspora who may not have either the knowledge or the time to research and to be able to identify individual companies. So with one investment or trade, you can get a diversified exposure to the market at a much lower cost than investing in mutual funds. You can choose the different strategies, and whichever one resonates with you, choose that particular ETF. So I just want to highlight this recent development on PSX, as I thought this may be of interest to the viewers. Thank you very much, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thanks very much, Farrukh. Very enlightening, full of insights, and I think this is the first time international viewers, non-resident Pakistanis, and particularly in Canada, have been able to get a glimpse of what PSX has done in the past and where it is now and where it is going. I think your point regarding ETFs is exceedingly well presented. I think our Canadian viewers will be very, very happy to see that there is now an instrument that can allow them to participate in the broader market. With that, I'll now request Salman to give the Canadian perspective of the other side of the coin. We've seen available in Pakistan, and where non-resident Pakistanis or Canadians with Pakistani origin can look at from an investor's perspective. But what about Pakistanis considering Canada, and what is available here, and what kind of activities can Salman and his business provide a perspective to Pakistanis listening in? Salman, please.
Yes, thank you, Nadeem bhai, and thank you to Samir and CPBC for allowing me the opportunity to be here today with this distinguished panel. I definitely think, hearing the last two speakers, there's a lot of opportunity in Pakistan for Canadian businesses and Canadian investors to be looking at ways to invest, alternative investments from what's available in the Canadian and US market here in North America. But I think we also have to look the other way, and Canada, specifically our province, Ontario, where Samir and myself sit. Our slogan is open for business. So Canada is definitely open for business and open to investors and businesses looking at alternative opportunities for them. So opportunities that they may not find in their markets, local markets, be it Pakistan or any others. So it's definitely a two-way street. We want to make sure that the investments and the bilateral trade works both ways. And that is where we'll see that BDO is there to help any of our viewers, any of our followers through CPBC. BDO is in 100 countries across the world, including, of course, Canada and Pakistan. So whether it's a Canadian investor or a Canadian business looking to open up in Pakistan, as we've seen from Ali Bhai, he's mentioned, $3.5 billion has recently gone into Pakistan in currency. And of course, at the PSX, there's much more investment happening. So anytime anyone is sending money into Pakistan from a foreign country, you're looking to get a return, and you're looking to ultimately bring that return back to your home country. That will attract taxes. So BDO, through our network in Canada and Pakistan around the world, we are able to help investors in all countries look at ways to invest in a tax-efficient manner and make sure that the investment returns are not overtaxed in various countries. And we can assist businesses, investors through any country around the world as need be. But specifically between Canada and Pakistan, we see a lot of synergies in working with a firm like BDO to help promote tax efficiency. So thank you very much.
Okay, Samir, thank you so much. It is nice, short and sweet, but very pertinent indeed. I think one of the things that which really came across this is that there are multiple opportunities for two-way investment and trade between Canada and Pakistan. And I think the expose today to our Canadian friends who are watching this of the depth and the growth of the Pakistani debt and equity markets is very interesting. But equally, for those Pakistanis who are watching this, who have linkages both in Canada and in Pakistan, I think it is important what you mentioned regarding the tax aspects. I have had in my other associations the tax aspect as one of the key issues when Pakistanis want to invest in Canada, particularly in the real estate side. And as I said earlier, your experience and expertise on the real estate side is quite amazing. And I would urge our Pakistani viewers to definitely get in touch with yourselves and BDO, because I know for a fact that a very large amount of Pakistanis, whether they are Canadians who have gone back to Pakistan or are working internationally in Dubai and Middle East and Saudi Arabia, have a tremendous amount of investments in the Canadian real estate market, which is actually booming at this point in time. However, what they are worried is that when they do participate here, they have very limited knowledge of the various tax laws and tax implications for non-residents. So I think this is a great opportunity for those who are watching to get in touch with yourselves and look at that. I will now move to Samir Bhai to request if there are any specific questions. I think I personally don't have much questions here. I think each of the presentation was very well self-contained. And as a first cut, I think our viewers would have gained a lot of insight. So Samir Bhai, back to you.
Want to make sure. Okay, my mic is now on. Thank you very much. It was a wonderful session. It's really amazing to pick up different perspective from 3 or 4 professionals covering an important segment. And here at Canada-Pakistan Business Council, our mandate is to promote bilateral trade between Canada and Pakistan. And this is really going to help the Pakistani diaspora over here to get a better understanding of where things are heading and where we will be going moving forward. Kudos to the State Bank, the stock exchange, the financial gurus of Pakistan to have created such a vehicle allowing Pakistanis to utilize and open accounts. I know personally, Ali bhai, that I've also faced issues that it becomes difficult in terms of biometrics and all these issues that create problems. I see a lot of 500,000 Pakistani diaspora strong over here wanting to send money to give out charities, spend money for their parents, have some extra money, send for charities, send for investment opportunities. And I think these vehicles will actually help us moving forward. My concern and my issue has been coming back and forth, and we've been discussing that at different forums, is that this is a general address to all of you, well, Mr. Farrukh and Ali, and in some ways Nadeem bhai as well, as to what considerations the State Bank and the Finance Ministry has taken into account to follow global regulatory requirements for remitting countries, whether it be Canada, whether it be the US or whatever. That at some point in time, maybe a short answer would be useful. But this is a question that does come to mind for a lot of people, especially in the consideration of FATFs. So I'm just throwing this out to you gentlemen to give us a brief thought on this.
Ali, why don't you answer that? Because I think you're the microphone.
Yes, I think Samir Saab, you rightly said, particularly countries like Canada and the others, diaspora, they face a lot of challenges in terms of remitting, and particularly Pakistan is still under watch on FATF, Financial Action Task Force, and Central Bank, Ministry, and other agencies are working all together, presenting bills in the parliaments and making legislations in terms of standardize the process for remittances and investments and how they can easily bring money into the country for any purpose. So I think a lot of work has already done. Out of 27 of FATF checklist, 21 already passed, established. So we expect by February, Pakistan will come out from grey list, we believe, because the legislation part previously never done as we have seen this time. So I think I can just say that going forward, and particularly when we look at the digital platforms are happening, so more and more money is coming out through the formal channels, and that's why we have seen that 31% remittances have increased. It's not just because of the employment has created. It's not just that NRP's salaries have increased. No, it is out of the wallet size of the inflows. Some portion used to come through different channels and now converting into formal channel, banking channels. And there are a number of money transfer operator, MTOs are working all together, mobilizing money and towards their home countries. So I believe this is my brief answer.
Ali,
thank you. Thank you. Excellent, Ali. I also want to address Farrukh on the Pakistan Stock Exchange. I've actually personally been watching the performance of the Pakistan Stock Exchange, and many times we've actually highlighted at the Canada-Pakistan Business Forum that Pakistan was 2 years in a row, 3 years in a row, the best performing stock market, probably at times in that region for sure. So it's been really heartwarming to see such good professionalism coming out of there. This is, I feel that engaging the Pakistan Stock Exchange will actually give a lot of opportunities for portfolios to invest in other countries. There are huge funds over here which invest globally. It's not that we are promoting Pakistan. They are Umars and all these they look at global opportunities. I would like to hear some suggestions, some thoughts on how Pakistan Stock Exchange and the banking system and the likes of Nadeem Naqv and the likes of Salman and BDO and the likes of our banking system, our corporate sponsor RBC, how we can leverage to structure something which could be credible, which could be viable, and create an investment vehicle. I am not the expert, so I would not want to tread on that. But I think we need to take this forward in terms of trying to create vehicles where it would ease opportunities for people to be able to invest in one of the best performing stock exchange, particularly in that region. Farrukh bhai.
Ji, thank you, Sameer Saab. As you mentioned, that Canada has a very robust investment industry that invests all over the world, and in fact, since Pakistan opened to international investors in 1991, the market itself was established back in 1947-48, but for international investors it was open in 1991. Most of the large global long-only equity funds or hedge funds have at one time or the other invested in Pakistan, and the process for their investment is extremely streamlined through the special convertible rupee accounts, through having banks like Citi, Standard Chartered, etc., providing custody services here. So it's actually very straightforward, and the whole remittance process for inward investment in foreign exchange on stock market in listed shares, as well as the outward remittance, is extremely well established and has been going on for decades. For individual investors, it was a little bit more complicated, because for them to open SCRA accounts was a bit cumbersome. They had to come here, as you were mentioning, do biometrics, etc. So that is a big step forward that has been done by these Russian digital accounts, that you can open your bank account as well as a brokerage account sitting in the comfort of your home in Canada. And once you have done that, then the purchase of shares through your broker and the bank, as well as the sale with any dividends or capital gains, is completely assured, because the bank, as Ali will say, doesn't have to refer or get any approvals. Whatever money comes into Russian digital accounts, its remittance is guaranteed. The bank, without reference to the central bank, can remit the funds out as and when required by the investor. So now it is very simple and straightforward for individual investors. The third point, which I think you were perhaps also referring to, that it still may not be so easy for individual investors, although things like mutual funds and ETFs make it easier for them to invest. But it may be a good idea if there are boutique asset management firms that do put together a Pakistan focus or a country specific fund, in which individuals from Canada can put in their money, and that fund then invests in, and there are some in Europe like that. The one or two, they are more broadly frontier markets, but have a very big exposure to Pakistan. So there are alternatives to come through funds like those, or directly through Russian digital accounts, or through things like ETFs, or, as Ali was mentioning, local mutual funds will also be soon linked to the Russian digital accounts. So you'll have, there are, I don't know, Ali, I've lost count, but there are like probably 300 plus mutual funds in Pakistan offered by different mutual asset management companies. So there is a wide choice of strategies, fixed income, equities, balanced funds, Sharia compliant funds available for investors.
I can just add, Farrukh, on this. Sameer Saab, I think there's one fund we recently launched, a dollar fund, Assumat, which is Italian fund capturing all emerging markets and bringing money to emerging and frontier market, and they are injecting money to Pakistan also. So we have partnership with Assumat out of Middle East and other countries to distribute and sell Pakistan instruments.
Wonderful, wonderful.
Excellent, wonderful, Ji, Zabardast. I think it's really good, and I think Canada-Pakistan Business Council can continue to play its role in trying to do that networking, to connect and to facilitate and to be the conduit in connecting. We've got the likes of Mr. Nadeem Naqv, Salman, and Ali. You just mentioned that you also had an exposure to Canada. That there are so many professionals in very well established positions, especially in the financial sector of Pakistani origin, in banks, institute, and boutique organization. And I think we can only encourage them. These guys need to do their due diligence, their infrastructure requirement, their regulatory requirements, and then take this thing forward. And I'm sure that moving forward with Nadeem bhai on board, and Salman, for your benefit, I just wanted to verify that Mr. Nadeem Naqv has also been in Canada for now a long time, and this is his home as well. So just wanted to mention that. So I think moving forward, we need to have conversations. I'm a firm believer on conversations. We can hope and feel and dream and say we want to do this, but if we do not have dialogues and if we do not have conversations, we don't know where we are going to go. So conversations, this is an amazing opportunity of the negativities of the pandemic. This has opened up simplified opportunities of doing webinars, talks, conversations that we can take it forward. So, Salman, I actually would want to throw something back to you. Is there anything from your perspective that what we have talked about that you would want to highlight or to check or to ask or comment based on what all we've heard?
Thank you, Samir. I definitely think, like you said, the conversations are the key. I can say for myself, I was definitely not aware of the various opportunities that both Ali and Farrukh have laid out today, and what's happening in Pakistan. Even though you're in constant contact with family back home and clients back home, this type of information doesn't normally come up. So it's good to share this information amongst the business community here and let them know what's out there and what's available. And as I said, alternative investments for locals here in Canada that whether they're invested in their businesses, in real estate, in the stock market here, there's other global opportunities out there that can be very attractive.
Thank you. Nadeem, before we close, any last thoughts or last suggestions that you would like to put in?
No, absolutely not, except one item. I think it is a follow-up situation. I think, as you very rightly said, it's all good and nice to talk about these things, and it is important as far as the Canada-Pakistan Business Council is concerned to act as a bridge and information hub for various parties. But I think it is also important for participants of this webinar, speakers included, that we go to the next stage of some kind of activity planned into the next year. And I would like to invite Farrukh and Ali to Canada, where we can set up one-on-one meetings, we can set up a conference with the financial sector and the business community here, because very few people actually have an understanding of the depth and the size of the Pakistan market and the performance. So I think it is important that the message should not be just limited to one webinar or anything. It should be a continuous process, and developments should be highlighted going forward. And I think both of you gentlemen, I would request to consider from an organizational perspective, probably in the coming summer, hopefully with the COVID under control, to have a proper conference in Canada, and we will work very hard to make it a good success. And I think Salman can play a very big role in that from the professional side, because a lot of people are concerned about taxation issues and wealth management issues, and he is a master in that area.
Wonderful. So thank you, gentlemen. It's been really wonderful. Really eye-opening. It's made me further clarify my mindset, and I also want to, before I formally just thank you all, I just wanted to mention a couple of things that we've been doing. We actually helped launch the Canada-Pakistan Council of Education under the umbrella of Canada-Pakistan Business Council. Things are moving at the back end. There's not activity visible, but there's activity going on. But I also want to mention that last year, soon after our gala, there was an official announcement by the government of Canada that Pakistan at that point in time became the fifth country to have gotten the special privilege of having a student direct stream concept of expediting visa processes for students. And this has to be in collaboration with the banking system. So there is opportunities, there's awareness, and I'm pleased to report that the feedback that I get from educational institutions over here is that the Pakistani students that come here are of the highest of caliber. So it's remarkable. It's wonderful. So we will continue to work. We will continue to dialogue. We will continue to engage. And of course, I want to endorse the invitation to Ali and to Farrukh to consider coming to Canada when the time is right. I don't want to predict anything right now, but as and when the time is right, we should be making this happen. So without further ado, and just want to thank you, Ali, Farrukh, and Salman for your insights, and a very, very special thanks to Nadeem Naqv, who is also a financial expert, a former president of the Pakistan Stock Exchange. He understands the business, and he will be helping us to do other finance and economics related webinars as we move forward. So I would like to take this opportunity. We don't have the bell gong, Farrukh bhai, to close right today, but hopefully at some point in time we will keep on our engagements with you and with everybody. So thank you everybody for being there with us. Thank you for sharing your thoughts, and we will be reaching out to you. Thank you very much, and all the very, very best. And in
return, we also look forward to welcoming you to Pakistan and to the Pakistan Stock Exchange and do a gong ceremony with you.
Brilliant.
Thank you. You know that I, except for the COVID situation, I get this opportunity and I make it a point to sort of engage and to visit Pakistan on a very regular basis. One of my personal motto, which I've incorporated in Canada-Pakistan Business Council, I picked this up during my role as the president of the Richmond Hill Rotary Club, is together we can make a difference. And that's where I always like to close my sessions, that together we can make a difference. Thank you very much, and have a wonderful
rest of the
day and rest of the day.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.